midst of a grievous moment of injustice, and it is deep at the core of who we say we are, equal justice under law. And so we have waited too long. We've seen the disaster of prohibition once before in this nation. This is hurting every American, and I end with this fact. Law enforcement resources all over this country are desperately needed to solve crimes that are hurting other Americans, theft and larceny and assault, sexual assault, and other violence. But yet, instead, we have our precious resources being used to lock up majority black and brown people for doing things that presidents and congresspeople and senators have done. This bill is urgent. This bill is long past due. And I am proud that today we are making history by having the two champions on either side of me leading this fight to finally end the war on drugs, which, as Senator Schumer said, has been a war on people, to end prohibition once and for all for marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take questions on this subject only.
Mr. Leader, this issue has broad support in your caucus. It has significant fiscal implications. Why not include it in the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill that you expect to pass in the next couple months?
Because this is going to be a process. This is a draft bill. We intend to show it to all of the stakeholders. We don't have the votes necessary at this point, but we have a large majority of our caucus for it. We're going to show it to the others and say, well, what don't you like? What do you like? And we'll see if we can get the support. But we're going to put our muscle behind it, our effort behind it, and we are going to get this done ASAP.
Yeah, so there's a lot of skepticism on Wall Street and from the sort of the business analysts who are looking at this that you'll ever be able to get 10 Republicans for something this sweeping. That maybe you could do something smaller, like a banking bill, like something that's a little bit more expanded.
Banking bill deals with a small part of this, but not what needs to be done. We need a broad, comprehensive bill.
What's your prospects of getting Republicans on board with this?
I'm telling you right now, if somebody tries in the Senate to do just a banking bill, they're going to make all the wealth and the money that is going after this already is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But what could become an even bigger industry, to just do it so some people can get rich and not do something about the people who are languishing with criminal convictions, not do something on restorative justice, not do something to make sure that the business opportunities are created are fairly given a fair playing field, where right now in many states, someone who has a criminal conviction for selling marijuana can't get a license now. I don't know about other members of the Senate, but I will lay myself down to do everything I can to stop an easy banking bill that's going to allow all these corporations to make a lot more money off of this, as opposed to focusing on the restorative justice aspects.
Let me just make sure we understand about the revenue. The revenue generated through legalizing cannabis will go directly to support restoration of the lives of those most harmed by the war on drugs, as well as public health and safety. What we're talking about, of course, this week, things like clean energy, for example, and other priorities, we're going to focus on making sure that the super wealthy and millionaires pay their fair share as part of covering those priorities.
And let me just say, communities of color have paid such an awful price for the historical overcriminalization of marijuana that we want to make sure that the money goes back to them and doesn't just get, the biggest, strongest banker gets to just scoop it all up.
Expunge records.
Right. And expunge records, I mentioned that, yes.
Yes. Have any of you spoken to anyone at the White House about this idea, and what is your sense of
the White House knows we are introducing this legislation, and we intend to show them the draft legislation and ask them to support it.
You mentioned a laboratory of states sort of leading the way on this. What would a proposal like this mean for states that haven't taken that step to legalize various forms?
They'd have to catch up to probably where their public is.
But it will be their option, and that is why, for the life of me, I don't understand how Republicans who say they're for states' rights won't support what my colleagues are talking about, because what this bill does is we decriminalize at the federal level but we don't require states to legalize. So this speaks right to what the majority leader is saying. If they're listening to their constituents, and this is being done all over the country, they're going to move of their own volition. But the three of us are supporting a states' rights approach that says decriminalize at the federal level, give the states the option.
Right. We're not forcing the states, but we believe this will give impetus to the states and impetus to their populations that are strongly for this. Go ahead, Broom.
Yes, what effect will this have on New York and other states that have already decriminalized?
Well,
Did you say New Jersey or New York?
he's talking about that football team that has the NY on there.
That plays in New Jersey.
Yeah. We have this discussion every time we do something.
I've listened to this.
What professional football team is
We believe in the Trailblazers.
The Trailblazers, yes, they're
The
doing all right.
Thorns.
The bottom line is, it's still against federal law. So even though the state can legalize, which New York has done, this will not have the federal government interfere in any way.
Last question.
Last question.
It's just a clarification question. Does this mean the Senate will not act on the House-passed Safe Banking Act?
Look, this is a very comprehensive bill. We put a lot of work and a lot of time into this. It's a draft bill, and we're going to now go to our colleagues and ask explicitly to all of them, what don't you support here? What can you support here? We're going to get something done, and we'll have to figure out, the best way to get that done, but we are going to get something done.
Are you committed
Okay,
to putting
thank
this on
you.
the floor?
Thank you,
Will this be on the
everybody.
floor?
Thanks, everybody.
Sarah Wyden, the proper comeback when they give you stuff about the NFL teams, is you point out that they all wear Nike shoes.
And everybody also knows that
Yeah, that's right.
Cohal, the pastor of the Lenox Road Baptist Church, and I want to welcome all of you here this evening or this afternoon. You know, as a faith leader, the scriptures mean a lot to us. And 1 Peter 3, verse 9 tells us, do not repay evil for evil, or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless, for this is what we were all called to do. And indeed, to this place, this time, this group, we were called. Gun violence in our country and in our city and in our state is at a crisis level. And we are called not to repay evil with evil, but to bring joy and to bring hope and to bring resources and to solve this problem from the ground up. That's the strategy Governor Comer outlined last week. And that's the strategy that he, in partnership with our legislative leaders and the next mayor of our city, are here implementing this afternoon. So it is my honor as pastor to host this gathering. And let me just put a plug. This is my 25th year of pastoring this church. This week. So it is a joy to host you and to start this conversation. And it is my calling to be of assistance today and going forward as we work together to solve this crisis. Please welcome the Governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. And let me thank the Reverend, first of all, for his hospitality. We just had a great, very productive meeting. Let's give the Reverend a big round of applause. I don't know how Reverend Cohal could have done 25 years when he's only 29 years old, but I want to thank him very much. We have Senator Zellner Myrie, Assembly Member Diana Richardson, and Assembly Member Latrice Walker, who have done a fantastic job in organizing today, and you'll hear from them in a moment. Let's give them a round of applause. And Pastor Gil Monrose, who is runs what's called the God Squad, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is a network of faith-based organizations that talk about doing the Lord's work and taking the words of the Scripture and putting it into action. He embodies that, and he has literally saved thousands of lives with his partners. Let's give them a round of applause. We spoke about gun violence earlier with Eric Adams, and we spoke about a different response for the city, and we spoke about how complex the issue is. It deals with reforming the relationship between the police and the community, where the community trusts the police, respects the police, and vice versa. The police respects the community. That's a part of it that has to be worked on. It's education and educational equity, and making sure these schools in the poorer communities in New York City get the same services, the same level of education as the richer districts. So there's no doubt there's multiple prongs. But one of the most important strategies is to get young people before the fact. Get young people before the fact, before they enter the pipeline of the system. Because once they're in the system, that pipeline only leads to one place. And we've seen it for too long, for too many years, with too many lost generations. Once that first arrest, that first record happens, then you are on the slippery slope. How do you do that? There is no bill that I can sign that would do that. There is no bill that the president can sign that can do that. The only way you can do that is community by community, where you develop the network and the infrastructure in that community to provide the support services. They know who's likely to get into trouble. They know who is getting into trouble. And they need the ability to, at that time, reach that person and stop the cycle before it even starts. Well, how do you do that? That's hard. That's hard. When we can just sign a bill that's easy. When we can just say one initiative, that's easy. That's not going to work here. It's not going to work. It is empowering the groups that have been doing this for years with no recognition and with no resources, and institutionalizing them so they have more capacity to do what they do, because what they do works. We just need more of it. And we have to acknowledge it, and we have to give them the tools and the resources to do their job. This is the first community in the state that we are reaching out to. I can tell you the expertise is here. The intelligence is here. The willingness is here. And now, with this initiative, the resources will be here. I'm excited about the possibility. I believe the product of today will be that we save young lives. And that benefits all New Yorkers. And that's what we have to remember. I want to thank them all very much for being here. And let me turn it over now to Senator Zellner-Myrie. Senator Myrie.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is no coincidence that we are in a house of worship. I want to welcome everyone to Lenox Road Baptist Church. We will not be here if it were not for Reverend Cohall opening up his door, so we want to publicly thank you for that and for what the church does in this community. This issue is not about politics. This isn't about photo ops. This isn't about a press release. This isn't even about all the cameras that are here. This is about the people of our community. Amen. The grieving mothers, the families that can't sleep at night, our children that have been lost to bullets day after day after day after day. The scriptures tell us that we should be prepared in season and out of season. And for too long, it has been a season of violence in Brooklyn. But as the day turns to the night, so too will this season of violence become a season of peace. But it requires all hands on deck. So I'm grateful to have the governor's resources and his power behind stopping violence. I'm grateful for all of the people standing on this stage with us. We are dedicated to ending gun violence in our generation. We can do it. I believe we can. I know we can. And together, we will. So I thank all of you, and I look forward to us making this a reality. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, I want to be in the morning. I'm Assemblywoman Diana Richardson. I represent the mighty 43rd Assembly District, which is Crown Heights, Prospect, Lefferts Gardens, and East Flatbush here in central Brooklyn. Anyone would tell you that I stand 10 toes down every day, very unapologetic and unafraid. And that when I'm speaking, I only speak what is the truth.
Amen.
We are very, very, very happy here this morning to be standing in solidarity with our Cure Violence groups, as well as our clergy leaders from across this county, in partnership with Governor Cuomo and other community leaders. For far too long, we have been in pain. For far too long, our community has been just hemorrhaging, calling out for help. And we are grateful that there's finally now a disaster declared and that the governor is here, boots to the ground, with real substantive solutions, employment, jobs, as well as other resources to really not just make a big headline, but bring action to the ground to the people who are literally dying for all of our assistance and attention. I want to highlight all of the violence interrupters that are standing behind me, as well as the hospital responders that are standing behind me, as well as the clergy who is standing behind me, that are the first responders to gun violence every single day. And I want to say thank you to all of you. I want to say thank you to all of you very publicly, because while others run, when the shots are fired, they run too. while we are reading our newspapers or looking at the TV, disgruntled or mumbling, they are the ones that are consoling the families. They are the ones that are trying to restore unity back in the community that is traumatized. So, look, today is all about solutions. I'm grateful. I don't know if I'm rambling or not, but I hope that you understand that this has to be a very substantive initiative, and I encourage everyone to track it. I encourage everyone to track it. We are going to make real change. Central Brooklyn is going to be the model that will lead the rest of the world to show them how community, how clergy, and how elected officials can come together to be solution-oriented around the challenges that we have. So we say thank you to you, Governor Cuomo. We extend a strong partnership to you. Let's get this done.
Thank you.
So again, good afternoon, everyone. The governor spoke to us today about hot spots within Central Brooklyn. Many of those communities we either live in ourselves or we have 1 foot in one district and one zip code and 1 foot in the other. And we saw the mastery by which he addressed a public health crisis when we were undergoing and under siege by COVID-19. And so we have been living with a public health crisis for many, many years, for many, many decades. And I want to take the opportunity to applaud our governor for recognizing or supporting some of the things that we've known all along, that gun violence is a public health crisis, and that the only way to maintain it and to be able to put a stop to it is by acknowledging the crisis management systems that have been put in place by which to address it. And they're not called crisis management systems for no reason, because this is a system. Some that happens that requires prevention. Sometimes we may need to handle an emergency situation. And then also some of the after effects after this deadly virus, which we know of as gun violence, has taken a hold of our communities and our families. For far too long, we have said to people, telling people no, but we have never given them anything to say yes to. And so today, we've learned and are working with the governor on some yes opportunities. That the vaccine that we need in order to address the pandemic of gun violence in our community are employment opportunities, housing opportunities, and educational opportunities, and services for our families. And so this is a proud moment. I am proud to stand with my colleagues, with members of the community, with members of the clergy, as well as with our governor and all of the respective agencies across the state of New York, to say that we are finally going to do something about this. And so, Governor Cuomo, I look forward to seeing your daily, or if not, your frequent updates to us with respect to how this initiative is going, where we are with respect to the gun violence, how many incidences of gun violence are taking place on a particular day, and what it is as a state that we're going to do about it. So congratulations and thank you much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You get the benediction.
Good afternoon, and thank you all again for having us here. We are in a real important moment in our communities. We have been saying for a long time to get not only the governor but the nation to pay attention to what was happening in Central Brooklyn. And so for many years, myself and all of the leaders of the God Squad, the clergy, was working without the funding, without the recognition. And I really want to thank again Governor Cuomo for coming to this place, this sacred ground, to release and launch what we are going to call something historic, of biblical proportion, where we have faith that moves mountain. And so we're grateful. We have such great leaders in Central Brooklyn that if history would be kind enough, they would say that, yes, we had mighty, not only the 43rd, but mighty Central Brooklyn. Look, there's great leaders who was here with us today, and we're so grateful to them. Every single person standing behind me is actually in front of me, in a sense that they push us forward with the work that we're doing. And so we're very, again, grateful. Where did the governor go? He's right here. Governor, we want to thank you so much. Don't go too far now. You're in Central Brooklyn. We want to thank you so much for being up to the challenge, coming to Brooklyn to really put his stake of his governorship on us. And so we're going to take this task. We're going to run with it. And I think that we're going to definitely see a brighter tomorrow in Central Brooklyn. God bless everyone, and God bless Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of questions for any of my colleagues. You heard from me. Anything?
For Senator Myrie and Assemblywoman Richardson, just 4 months ago you released a statement about the Attorney General's probe into the governor over sexual harassment allegations, saying that he's not entitled to remain in the most powerful office in the state when by his words and actions he has irreparably damaged his trustworthiness and ability to lead, while the rest of us twist in the wind awaiting new and more disturbing allegations. So can you address why you're here with him today, given that statement?
I'm here today with the governor because politics is politics, business is business. And at the end of the day, we have a job to do to show up for the people of the great state of New York. With all due respect, ma'am, that question is inappropriate for the topic of this press conference. As you have heard eloquently put from my partners as well as the governor, we are in a state of emergency. This is not the time for us to be in our emotions and people's personal endeavors. This is a time for us to be solution-oriented and focused. And what I just said is the statement that Senator Myrie agrees with as well. Next question. Next question. And please, let me just say to the press that is in the room, if you are going to ask questions here today, please remain on topic, because we are talking about communities that are in pain. We are talking about gunshots that are ringing, and we want to remain on topic. We want to remain solution oriented. We don't want divisive questions, all right, that is going to take us off of the solution that we need to focus that is at hand. Let me ask next.
All right, we're gonna take one more question. Questions can be dangerous. One more question, Marcia Kramer.
Governor, first of all, I would like to know the details of the program that you're announcing, but also this seems to me that it's sort of a ringing indictment of the current mayor of the city of New York, because this gun violence has been going on for over a year, and every one of us in this room, whether you're on the stage or right here, has done stories or has talked to people who have been victims of gun violence, and there's been no solution. So the question is, why has the city failed to address it, and how will your program make it better?
All right, let me say this. I think what you're hearing from the state legislators and from all of us, this is a national problem. It is a problem in every city in the state. Inspired by Assemblymember Richardson, I don't want to get into political conversations or divisive conversations. Suffice it to say, yes, it has been going on a long time. Yes, it has been going on for too long. Yes, it has gotten worse recently and is now recognized nationally. Yes, the numbers have gotten worse. And the state has taken the first and precedential step of declaring an emergency in terms of gun violence. The state only declares emergencies up until today, normally for natural disasters, floods, hurricanes, COVID, health emergencies, Ebola. This is an emergency. This is life and death like COVID. This is an epidemic like COVID. This does require a concerted, direct effort like COVID. And that's why you see the state here on the ground, which is the first of its kind ever, as far as we can find out, where the state took a direct role in the community. And the reason we're doing that is because the state declared it an emergency, and I consider it an emergency, and I'm proud of it. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. What the meeting is doing, the details we'll have in the press release, but there are three main clusters of opportunities. Number one is employment opportunities. We have summer youth jobs for 15 to 24, which are people who are in school but need a summer job. We then have permanent jobs that are trained jobs to real careers. These are not just minimum wage, first-tier jobs. These are trained jobs for tradesmen, carpenters, bakers, electricians, done through what's called the Consortium for Worker Employment. That's the first piece is jobs. Second piece is community-based services, mental health services, family crisis center, wraparound services. And the third piece is violence interrupters, anti-violence activity, anti-violence groups connected with hospitals and doing street outreach programs. And the reason we have to get back to work is we're now doing breakout sessions on each of those three groups, three areas to put together networks on the ground to provide those cluster of services. Thank you very much.
Thank you.